Good evening, and welcome to Couch Conversations with the Doctors. Remember, our program is for informational purposes only, but we have great information for you. I want to say hello to everyone out there. I want to remind everybody to share, and chime on in with us on today as we do Couch Conversations with the Doctors. As always, we're going to go around our panel and we're going to kind of introduce the people that are here. For all of you who have been asking, where's Dr. Pete? Look who is back. It's Pete. He's back with us. So we're going to start with my coworker, Dr. Douglas Graham. Dr. Graham, could you introduce yourself to everyone?
Good evening, everyone. I'm a retired physician. I'm working in the Congressman's office as a congressional fellow working on healthcare issues. And it's a real honor and a pleasure to be here. I'm going to try and answer your questions if I can.
Simply outstanding. To our Dr. Pete, our Bonnie Pete Thomas, who is here with us on this evening.
Good evening. I am happy to be back, and I see Nikki has upped her eyewear again. She's outdone me. I cannot keep up with her. I mean, just when I think I got something going on here, she outdoes me. So I'm Dr. Pete Thomas. I'm Director of Medical Support Services at Near North. Happy to be here, answer some questions, and kind of get people on the path of living a healthier life. I appreciate the Congressman for allowing us to have this forum.
Wonderful. And I'm usually trying to keep up with Pete because he does have a selection of frames that is outstanding.
Not like you.
Dr. Mason says Dr. Mason says hello to everyone. He's in Massachusetts. He misses you all, and he'll definitely be here with you all next week. And Dr. Miller is actually out of town just as well. But he says that he misses you guys, and he'll be here next week, and he wants to make sure that everybody is vaccinated. Dr. Maya Green and Dr. Tony Hampton will be chiming in with us in just a little while. They're running a little behind, but we want to say hey to Yolanda Williams that says evening all, Linda Johnson, who is here saying good evening, Stephanie Bell, who is here saying good evening, to Sister Bonnie, who says good evening, welcome back, Dr. Pete, we missed you, and to Audrey Jaycox, who is here with us as well, and also to the president of the Metropolitan Water Reclamation, Carrie Steele, who is here saying thank you. Thank you for being here, doctors, and thank you for the information. To Wilbur Cook on Instagram, who is saying thank you guys for being here. He gets his information to Martha, who has just chimed in on Facebook. She's saying good evening to everyone just as well. Congressman, give us your introduction.
Well, I tell you, I feel quite good because many of the churches reopened on Sunday, and I was able to attend church, which was something that I had not done much of lately, except for funerals and memorial services. And so I had a great Sunday. I started my Sunday with Spencer Leak out at It's Time Truth Speaks, and I recounted that I had been listening to that radio show since 1961 when I came to Chicago and turned the radio on one Sunday morning, and Spencer Leak's father was on with It's Time Truth Speaks. And I was so impressed with him that I started listening to the broadcast, and that was my Sunday morning ritual. And of course, Spencer, once his father died, took over the business as well as the show and has kept it going for that length of time. And then, of course, Spencer started preaching pretty much as well after he stopped running the Cook County Jail. He used to run that also, but he's just simply an outstanding business person, and I enjoyed it. Then I left there and went by Wilbur Cook's church, and as I got there, Wilbur Cook happened to have been the person extolling the virtues of Christianity at that moment because they were outside. every once a year they have church on the outside. They call it Jean Sunday. I didn't have any blue jeans, but I had some close to it. And so I enjoyed it tremendously. And so I want to thank Wilbur for what I heard him saying Sunday morning. And of course, I enjoyed the sermon that the pastor gave, Reverend Walter Harris. So I just had a good day. And that day has extended into this day. I've been out practically. I'm really just coming back from Oak Brook, where I went to meet with some business people there. And we had a great discussion about health. And one of them is in the business of providing face masks and scrubs and other kind of things. And so I've had a great day, and I'm looking forward to the discussion this evening.
Simply outstanding. So Lorenzo Burton is chiming in, and he's saying good evening to everyone. Sharon Jack is here, and she says good evening, everyone. Angela Underwood is here, everyone. Dr. Tony Hampton, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone? We were just completing our introduction.
Well, always happy to be here. I also had a good day yesterday, having a good day today, and happy to, talk to my patients, hear their concerns, and meet some new patients. Sometimes I see a new face, and every time I tell them that you can reverse disease, they're always surprised. They're surprised that I'm not the guy that's going to give them all the pills and all the lotions and potions, but I teach them about wellness. So I'm just thankful that this venue also allows to share that message, because people need hope, and I just want us to be a source of hope for people, give them a chance to find an alternative path to healing. So that's really why I'm here. That's why I'm so thankful you guys allow me to be on this forum, and I appreciate the opportunity to answer questions and to share some insights. So thank you, Nikki. Appreciate you.
Aw, wonderful. Want to say hey to Sergeant Daniel Allen. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean Lieutenant Daniel Allen, who is here with us on this evening. Congratulations on your promotion to Officer Terry Conway, who was here with us just as well. Thank you for stopping by and
Sergeant Allen got a promotion.
This information. Well, Dr. Pete.
You're saying that Sergeant
Allen got a promotion, Congressman. He is now Lieutenant Daniel Allen.
I thought he just loved being a sergeant. I mean, he got tired of being a sergeant. I guess that happens then.
He loves it. I think he loves it, but I think he's gonna love being a lieutenant just a little bit more.
Well, congratulations to him.
Start the conversation and take us away.
Yeah, no,
He says, thank you, his ice cold brother.
All right.
That's what he takes back. He said, tell Congressman I said, thank you to my ice cold brother.
All right. I know what that means.
Yeah.
I actually have a question for you, Pete.
Yeah.
I want to go back, when I got triggered by this ice cold stuff, this fraternity stuff. And shout out to all the Greeks listening, sorority sisters, fraternity brothers, the work you guys do out there to lift up our community. It's a big sacrifice, because you didn't really have to, you don't have to do it, but you do it anyway. And I think it's underappreciated. So, but me and my my line brother, Dr. Pete. I had a patient today talked about exercise, and I know that that's one of the things that we did back in our days. We didn't do it at Xavier. We're probably too busy getting in trouble back then in college. But when it comes to medical school, you can only do one thing: study, study, and study. And the only thing we did that was a little bit of a break was exercise. So I thought maybe we should just speak about that. And I thought about exercise, and what we did, we did a lot of weight training. And I recently learned, and a lot of patients don't know this, is that one of the number one predictors of longevity is muscle mass. You don't have to be a bodybuilder, but what they found is that people who exercise and have a little muscle, they tend not to fall. And a lot of our seniors, they fall and break a hip and it's over. But they also have muscle around their hip so that if they fall, they tend not to harm themselves as much. So a lot of patients come in and they struggle to exercise, and maybe they don't have a fraternity brother that's forcing them to go to work out with them, So one of the things I wanted to encourage people to consider, not just, we talk a lot, Dr. Mason's not here, of course, we always talk about nutrition, but don't get it twisted. If you're not moving your body, you're also going to struggle to be healthy. And I was fortunate to have a conversation with a gentleman, Dr. Ben Bocchicchio. He's an Italian guy who came up with a 15-minute twice a week exercise program. Now, it sounds like a dream. Like, how could that be, doctor? How could 15 minutes be enough? Well, this PhD did his research, and what they found is if you just take that muscle to the extreme of fatigue, right? You take it to the extreme of fatigue, and then you go to the next muscle, and it only takes 60 minutes to 90 seconds, to do this. You can actually do all of these exercises with bands in 15 minutes. So this is science, evidence-based. And the reason why I'm bringing it to this forum is because so many people have not made time to exercise.
I think Dr. Hanson got frozen.
Oh, did I?
No, I can hear you, Tony.
Oh, you can hear me? Oh, okay. Yeah, I know something popped on my screen, so maybe something occurred.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so when I talked to Dr. Ben, and I even talked to him on YouTube, so just put in Dr. Tony Hampton, Dr. Ben, you'll see it. There's links. See, so, and then I said, well, what does it cost to buy bands, right? And I went to Amazon. It was like anywhere from $15 to $30. That was it. And you take those bands and imagine, doing an exercise where you go you lift up the bands from the floor up all the way out, and you do it very slow. And what they found in the research is if you do it very slow, it's probably harder to do 20 push-ups than to do 3 slow push-ups, right? By the time you get to that last, you're about to, and that's when you fatigue the muscle. So again, the reason why I think this form is appropriate for that type of exercise is because they use it in cardiac rehab. They use it for seniors. In other words, the bands are adjusted according to what you can handle. And I just don't think that we talk enough about exercise. And so if anybody's listening, 15 minutes using bands, I think his book was called 15 Minutes to Fitness, right? And I just think that something like that is something that's something we can all tolerate and handle. And I just think that we need to make time, not just for, diet, not just for getting enough sleep, not just for reducing stress, avoiding things that harm us like COVID. We need to also move our body. And one thing that I think Brother Peter will agree, when we were doing this in college, it was probably the one thing that we felt good about. I mean, college, in medical school, it's just rough. But when you exercise, your mental clarity is better. You feel better. So I just want to encourage everybody listening to exercise. And if you're struggling to find a way to do it, that may be using those bands may be the secret. So what do you remember, Brother Pete, about those medical school days?
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, we're sitting for hours on hours just studying and sitting and sitting and sitting. And so, just to be able to get up and go to the gym, and our gym was in the medical school in the basement. And so we would laugh and work out, and it was just a real, I mean, honestly, it was a recipe for any sort of anxiety or depression, if you were inside a lot. I think the only one thing we probably could have done more was get outside, and
Right.
do maybe some running and things like that. I got into running later on. But no, Tony, I agree wholeheartedly. I talk to my patients a lot about movement and how movement is an anti-inflammatory activity. So, I talk about many of the patients who have osteoarthritis or even diabetes and high blood pressure, that movement can ignite your anti-inflammatory, white blood cells. And so, so even outside of just the idea of building muscle, which I agree with, it is a clear remedy for a lot of the ailments that our patients have. But just the idea of being able to, when you move, your body says it produces these cytokines that help prevent or reduce inflammation. And so, and people say, well, I don't really know what to do. I go to the gym, I don't really know what to do. And I tell people a good exercise is get down on the floor and then get back up on your feet. Just get down on the floor, lay down, and then get back up on your feet. Because when you think about what a burpee is, I know people hear about burpees. Burpees is a killer. It's just a fat burning exercise. You can look it up, Google it, and you'll find out what a burpee is. It will hurt your heart. You hear me? It is for real. Okay, but modified version of a burpee is just to lay down, get down on the floor on one knee, then get down on the other knee, and then lay down, and then get back up slowly. That is a modified version of a burpee. But think about it. That is a full body exercise. You're using hamstrings, shoulders, chest, everything, and it's probably muscle that you haven't used quite frequently. So yeah, definitely, I'm a big advocate of exercise. And I always say go slow. You don't need to, like people, I want to Zumba and all the rest of that. That's fine. You can set that goal, but maybe it just begins with just movement. Just, okay, I'm gonna, I tell people, even like when you're watching TV, just say every other commercial, I gotta stand up and do some, move your arms back and forth, but just to sit there all day and taking high blood pressure medicines. I'm not discouraging you from taking your medicines, but there's also other activities that you can do that will also contribute to a lower blood pressure, and movement and exercise is one of them. Maya, what you think?
I was laughing because Nikki always teases me
About dancing.
About dancing. Yes. So dancing actually, it's good for your heart. It's when I feel most free. I also do specifically in America, we cause in I think this style of dancing that kind of we learned when I lived in Nigeria is revamped. They call it twerking, but that's what they call it in America. And the concept of it, and Nikki, you just in time because I was just about to get that look off your face. First of all, because if you go to any Nigerian wedding, you're going to see grandma, and she's going to be able to employ those isometric contractions or exercises that gets, unfortunately, a bad name, and it's called twerking, in America, but it is one of the most like in tune to your body to be able to just move all these, like organize your body like a machine where you can choose one muscle and just make that muscle contract in a series of contractions on muscles. Belly dancing is another one of my favorites. It's just a series and it's good for digestion. It is, you know, and these are, so belly dancing is North African. What we call twerking is actually West African. And these are dances that kind of got a mystique and revamped for other reasons, which is sad because they're so fun. They are so free and they're so in tune. It's almost like a meditation for your body. See if I can just make this one muscle move while holding the other one still, So I really like, and dancing has always been, in various forms, has always been a love of mine, because it's a ability to, I mean, burpees are cool. Burpees are cool. Dancing, you can take the same dance, and I would do it differently from my sister, from my mother. It puts my, and maybe burpees too, but I've never tried it. It puts my stamp and my expression on it, and that's what I really love about dancing. It makes you feel so free. Another thing that a family became a family favorite and a favorite of a lot of people during the pandemic, bringing into the pandemic, things that you can do alone, roller skating, right? I don't know if you all remember, in Chicago, there is a place on 87th called the Rink.
Fitness Factory.
Yes. And talking about where, okay, how somatics did not originate, I believe, on the south side. I think it was west, but there are different groups that used to go in it was the kiddie rink, and they would dance. And then in the big rink, you get to roll around and roller skate and learn how to do that. Well, my family recently picked up a love for, my niece and nephew actually picked up a love for roller skating during the pandemic, because they had to do things where they were socially distanced but still active, so they would be able to go outside, skate to the corner, skate back, skate to the corner, skate back, and then come in when they're gonna take out the mask and put it, but during that time they learned different tricks. So when outside did open back up, right, they were like, oh, we need to take this to another level. So they started taking lessons at the rink every Saturday. And then the rest of the family kind of just joined in, and then and now they have lessons for the community every Saturday, every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I think this ain't a PR for them, but the bottom line is a love for roller skating. And I want to be old school. My goal is to get me a little rag that I put in the back of my, in the back of my hand, and then be like, and you can't see my footwork, but be able to do that. I really want to be able to do that. The only thing that I'm not getting is the Jerry curl. I'm not going back there. I came from the Jerry curl. I'm not getting it, but I will have that rag in the back of my pocket, and I'm gonna have my little skate tongue out with some different color laces. Yep, and the socks up to my knees. I'm gonna do it. I'm still in the beginners group, by the way. I'm talking all this stuff, but
what do the Europeans call it? Dr. Graham, what do the Europeans call it?
I'm not sure what called. I'm not sure. I'm understanding the question.
Yeah, so what do the Europeans call it? The Myers told us what the Africans do.
I know. Oh, my mic is on.
So, all I can say is we're all for healthy exercise, whether it's roller skating, rollerblading, bicycling, walking, jogging. The other thing is that, the weather's nice. If you're close to the parks, you can go out to the park, walk around the park.
So anything you do is all right, as long as you do it.
Congressman, I was going to say, now they call walking. They have a fancy term for it. It's called LISS. It's low intensity steady state. And so apparently LISS, or low intensity steady state, allows your heart rate to be in a place where you burn fat more efficiently. So that's the irony, is that, some things that were old can become new, and we find out new data about it. And we say, hey, because I like to run, but sometimes running doesn't necessarily put your heart rate in a place where you're maximizing your ability to burn fat. But apparently walking does. So it's called LIST, low intensity steady state, which
Y'all,
is
you
the
killing
opposite
me.
of HIIT, right? HIIT is high
Right.
intensity interval training. So HIIT is that short, fast, just high intensity workout that usually lasts between 20 and 25 minutes. But LIST is like the opposite. It's slower, but you put your heart rate in a place where you're burning fat. Who knew?
If anybody think the doctors are not learning from each other tonight, please, Lord, know that they are. And I never thought my sister would start talking about twerking and go back to Africa with it. And I just love that. So I'm loving you for that. And I love my brother for sharing this message of going slow. And actually, even when I talked about the bands, that's the whole freaking point. Excuse my French. You're going slow with the bands. And I didn't learn about the slow thing until I went to obesity school. And my brain just couldn't understand. Wouldn't it make more sense to sprint if you want to burn fat? But the answer is when you sprint, you're actually going to have to use quick energy. And we all know if you need something quick for energy, what do the runners do? They put that little sugar stuff in their mouth, right? So sugar is quick fuel, and you have to get something quick. But if you're going to liberate fat, you have to give it some time. So you got to go slow. So walking, of all the things we talk about, walking will help you burn more fat than sprinting. Who'd have thought? So for those who struggle to exercise, let's start with walking. It's just a beautiful thing. I had not even heard LISS until tonight. So thank you for sharing that. And I'll definitely incorporate that into what I teach. But I'm going to tell you, continuous learning. That's why I appreciate Congressman Danny Davis for just allowing a forum where we can all learn and grow together. I'll never look at twerking the same after tonight. I'm just letting you know.
I'm gonna send you all. You know what, Nikki? I'm gonna send you this video of. I mean, and literally, I'll send it out. These grandmas are 80s, 90s, and you can tell they kept their bodies active. And you also can take the dance through different belly dancing too levels. And as you go almost into a squat, you activate different. You fire different aspects of your muscles. I mean, it's actually great. The other thing, I know we can go on and on about exercising. I don't know if you all have seen. Well, first of all, Dr. Pete, I don't know if you brought up the running group.
No, I didn't. Not yet.
You didn't. Oh, go ahead. I'm gonna let you do that because I remember years ago when I was in a space, I was like, oh, I really need to exercise. I really need to do this. It's good for my mind, body, soul. And you like telling me about the running group,
Yeah.
and things about you that you don't know is Dr. Pete is also a runner, and not just down the street. It's a whole thing, and it from what I gather after I talked to him, I caught, you offered it to me. I was like, nah, I'll do it another time. Then I caught them one morning after the run, and I found out my cousin was actually a member of their group, and it was more of a support group, and they were talking, supporting each other through activity in the community. And I thought that was beautiful. But also another group that support each other, I think on the south and west sides, I think they ride, there's a group of, and I can get the name of it, a group of people from the community. They meet up and they just ride their bikes, and it's getting larger and larger now that we're in the time of COVID, because and then they also have support now where if I don't own a bike, I can get a divvy bike and ride. That's why the divvy bikes are popping up in a more equitable way across Chicago. So because there was a shortage of bikes when people started, realizing that bike riding is a good pastime. So I'll stop there. I wanted to say about the bike, and it's a support group. you know, because they're like, oh, come on, get out, and you got people doing it with you in a socially in a physically distant manner, which I do think I love this forum that we're talking about tonight, because it's an uplifting way of, you know, no matter if I need to be physically distant, or, you know, I can do these exercises in a physically distant manner. And like you all said, there's some exercises you can do at home. Get up, get down, get up, get down. You know, another thing that I love to do is Miss Janet Jackson. Okay, first of all, on demand. You can on demand or YouTube videos. Now, I'm not going to go as far as to say that I'm dancing looking like Janet or Beyonce or Chris Brown. But what I am doing is trying to make it through a whole video and trying the moves. And even that, like, I'm drenched. I've been active, things like that. I'm nowhere near their skill level, but I really enjoy turning on an artist that likes to dance, and just picking a video and just trying to like pause it, go back, get the first 5 moves. I'd be like, you know, I get all that. Now I don't look as good, but that's another way of like letting yourself be free and exercising. But I'm back to dance because I love it. Yeah.
But Pete, here's the funny thing. Don't let one of those songs come on in the car. Maya bust out it all in.
You're not ready.
Bust all the moves out for you in the car while she driving. She bust the moves out. But Maya, let me tell you, that bike group that you're talking about, believe it or not, a couple years ago, this is going to be shocking to you. A couple of years ago, it's probably almost 3 years. It was maybe the year before COVID. I think so. It was before COVID made its big onset. The congressman, we put together a night bike ride, and that's how that started.
That's how that started.
That's how it started. The congressman was on the bike himself. We were all out riding bikes. We actually did it to kind of silence some violence issues that were happening. We all got on groups of bikes. We had the police, firefighters, everybody on bikes. The congressman was on a bike. We went bike riding through the Garfield area. We went from a little part of North Lawndale to Austin. I mean, we met up in Garfield Park. Everybody came from different places in Garfield Park. And out of that, people began bike clubs, because at that point, the city began to shut down. So just so you know, that's how a lot of this started. I want to say hey to Linda Johnson, to Kim Alexander Jackson, who is here, that is saying great information and good evening, to Dorothy Murray, who is here, Mary Ballinger, to Karen, who is here with us, Rosetta Guy, who is here with us, also saying good evening. And I twerk 3 times a week because Maya taught me. So I'm twerking 3 times a week. That's my exercise. And I hula hoop. Don't be asleep on the hula hoop. Don't be asleep on the hula hoop. It'll get you together. Pete, go right ahead.
No, I'm just going to say, I don't know if Tony, you remember this, but when we were in college, we could step for the entire party, you know, and you think about what that does in terms of exercise, high energy exercise. And so recently at one of the grad chapters here in Chicago, we tried to revitalize stepping at the alumni level. And it was all underneath the auspices. This was going to be a way to get the men more active. We could care less that they could step, but it's the idea that you're going to be on your feet for the next hour and a half trying to learn these steps. But in reality, what we were trying to do was get their heart rate up, get them put on some gym shoes and some sweatpants, and get them to exert some energy. So, you know, we know that this stuff works, and we know that this doesn't have anything to do with taking high blood pressure medicines. Our patients tell us this all the time. I want something else other than pills. And although we have a lot of data to support that the pills work, but there's also data to support that non-pills work. And, you know, but this stuff is harder, honestly, because it requires a change in behavior, right? So many of us have professional jobs where we're sitting and meeting all day, and we're not moving around as much as we used to. And so the idea of blocking out some time that you are doing nothing but movement. I think, your body deserves that. And to Dr. Hampton's point, honestly, longevity, I think, relies on our ability to move around. You think of some of these third world countries where, they're walking everywhere. They're walking and carrying stuff, and bending down. And so that's basically like going to LA Fitness and working out. Okay. But it's just a part of their daily life. Whereas with us, we get in our car, we drive to our office, we sit in our office, we look at a computer screen all day long, we come back home, and all that stress and all the rest of that, you need to block out some time that you do nothing but twerk, whatever, do whatever you need to do. But the point is, block out some time for you to exercise. And I know I'm a runner, but still I need to, I'm trying to do other things other than running. So now I kickbox on some days, which is that's a crazy workout. It's a crazy workout. And I do a bunch of stuff. So anyway, but yeah, I definitely think my colleagues are hitting it right on the point about, getting some exercise in.
And then the other thing I want to say with exercising, I want to note the importance of stretching, right? Starting at the around 30, certainly after 40, our flexibility, for some of us it was like 20, but our flexibility starts to decrease. And one of the ways to keep your body flexible, nimble, is to continually stretch it. And I noticed the more I got to a point, and it's scientifically proven, so I don't know why I was doing this. I got to a point I would go in, I would exercise, I wouldn't stretch. And I was like, hey, I'm exercising. Why is my body starting to feel like it was stuck? And I wasn't stretching my body. I wasn't allowing those muscles to get a good full stretch, the blood vessels to reach certain areas, like things like that. Also, there are some forms of stretching that are almost like you do them during meditation, because the stretching was boring for me. So now I do them in a yoga pattern during meditation. Even if I give myself 10 minutes of stretching before and after my exercise, it preps my mind for it, sends me into a space I'm able to exercise. And then when I do my after stretching, I'm coming out of that space and getting ready for my day and meditating on, okay, how can I come from this space where I've done this work and moving into my day? So stretching definitely is an important form of exercise.
And Maya, without confusing people, the other thing we want to tell people is you have to be careful not to stretch a cold muscle. So there are some unique stretching exercises. Some of them are called dynamic stretching. I don't know if you see these runners. If you see runners and they're doing this sort of like skipping kind of thing, and they're doing all these sort of footwork kind of skipping. Well, that's a dynamic stretching, right? Where they're loosening up the muscle to then do their stretching. So, and you can even walk first, and then while you're walking, start to stretch where you don't want to stretch a cold muscle, because you could then strain that muscle.
Yeah.
So not to confuse people, but stretching is very important in terms of, eliminating I ran into a guy, I was running on the lakefront, ran into a guy who tore his Achilles, which is like the back of your ankle or on top of your ankle. And I asked him, I couldn't help it, because everybody that tears their Achilles, I'm always want to know, what did you do? Because I'm avoiding that at all costs. And he said he was playing basketball. And the unique thing about basketball is everybody says it's not like any other exercise or any other sport. And so he said, he went out there without thinking, I'm a runner, so I'm gonna go out here and shoot some hoops. He said he wasn't doing anything in particular, like, strenuous or whatever, but he did not stretch. And so again, that Achilles, if you feel the back of or run your hand along down your calf muscle to like the edge of your heel, that is your Achilles, the closer you get to your heel. And so that muscle you need to stretch, or that tendon you need to stretch. So anyway, he's playing ball. He feels like somebody kicks him in the back of his ankle. He turns around, there's nobody there. And then he realized he tried to take a step, and he realized that he tore his Achilles. So Maya, you are absolutely right. You got to stretch, and you have to be careful about stretching a cold muscle. So you have to warm up, then stretch, then exercise. Warm up, stretch, then exercise.
Warm up, stretch, exercise. Thank you, Dr. Pete.
Yeah.
So Mickey Johnson and Sonny Parker says, very good. Make the Achilles your friend.
Better believe it.
Well, maybe I'll see if I can get Miss Susie Lewis to join us one evening, because she's going to be 110.
Wow.
And she lives in Maywood, Illinois, and we just sent a congratulatory letter to her. 2 years ago, I was at her 108th birthday party, and she was up walking around getting food and all kind of stuff. So she's going to be 110 during the month of August, and maybe she'll come in and chat with us one evening and tell us what she does. And she also happened to have been a member of Nicole Harvey's grandfather's church and was one of the founders of that church. And she's doing well
All
in
right.
Maywood, Illinois.
So we're stretching, we're hooping, we're exercising, we are twerking. So what is, go ahead, Maya.
I also want to add that I remember when I got into college and when I got into medical school, when I started my fellowship, and again when COVID hit. One of the things that came back to me that I just didn't put together until, even though I tell people this all the time, I didn't put it together for my life until this past year, is how much exercise can be part of, and you know, to seek your doctors, get in touch with a medical provider, seek their opinion and their guidance with that, and follow that plan. But for me, in addition to therapy, exercising is part of the maintenance for my emotional well-being and mental wellness. And every time I get away from it and I go like, why am I feeling this way? And I do my assessment. I'm like, oh, okay. So last week there was that time where I just didn't make the gym or I didn't make the exercise. And then it kind of tumbled from there. And I started doing something during the time I scheduled for myself to be active, you know. And I would say, especially in the pandemic, we are all approaching this pandemic with some level of what we've experienced and some level of what we see our fellow humans experiencing. And for a lot of people, you definitely, again, you should be under the care of a healthcare provider, but and under that, submit to them and think about physical activity being part of your emotional and mental well-being, because I know it helps me way more than I would ever could ever think about it. And then when I thought back, I was like, you're right. Every time I come to a place where I'm got a lot of stress, that physical activity brings balance. So I'm thankful for that. And I just want to, I think sometimes when you're just really transparent, I just want to be transparent about that. If anybody is out there listening, and they're like, is that part of it? Yes, it's part of it. Physical activity is a huge part of, and nutritional intake, but physical activity for me is a part of my emotional well-being.
And we don't have to be afraid with that knowledge to get old. A lot of people say, I don't want to live a long life because I don't want to be old. But guess what? a lot of this aging stuff that we worry about can be greatly reduced by doing the things that we talk about on this show. So if you can get to 110 and you can still twerk a little bit at that age, then why not? So why not get to 110? And what I love about exercise, unlike medicine, and again, we want you to take medicine until you're healed. You can metabolically fix a lot of stuff with exercise. Your body is a lot smarter than the people at the companies that made the drugs. The drugs are targeting very specific things. When you do exercise and eat well, your body will naturally fix you. And all you're doing is just creating a body with the right nutrition, with the right movement that's going to allow your body to heal itself. And that's what we haven't done in our society, is that we don't give the body what it needs to heal. And as I've learned this way of thinking, it changed my life. In fact, I'm thinking about you, Dr. Graham. I was at a meeting, and at the meeting, it was in Boston. You know, I'm a leader within my health system, and most of the people who are in those positions look like Dr. Graham, with all due respect to Dr. Graham. That's keeping it real. Now, I go to the gym in the hotel. Let me say it differently. I attempt to go to the gym, and I see about 8 or 9 Dr. Grahams in the gym.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then because in my brain, I'm thinking, these guys are killing it, and most of them are between the ages of 60 and 75. And my brain is saying, how are these guys still killing it, still working, still doing a great job in leadership? And the reason is because they were in the gym. They were working out, exercising. And then I asked one of them, I said, how do you, what's your secret to it? He said, if I didn't do this, just like Dr. Maya is saying, if I didn't do it, I wouldn't be able to do this work of this organization. I would, they talked about, like you said, their mood. They talked about their energy level. They talked about their mental clarity. They said at 65, 75, 80, or whatever age they were at, because they were, they just wouldn't be able to do it. So what you can do is you can learn from people. And when you see a way to win, you need to do what the winners do. And Dr. Maya, listen, in my studies with this nutrition and functional medicine, I literally read a study a few months ago that said Prozac and exercise have the same benefit. So why would a logical person choose Prozac over exercise if they have the exact same results without the side effects?
Without the side effects.
Exactly. So I think that we in healthcare, all of us who do healthcare if we read a section about diabetes or hypertension, they all say the same thing. Try lifestyle modifications first and then do medicine. But in practicality, that's not what clinicians do. They immediately get the prescription pad out and start writing a prescription. So we need to change that paradigm back to what works, which is, how about if we try lifestyle and we coach you and mentor you and encourage you and create a system where maybe they'll get a call a week from now and saying, so how's that exercise going? Or did you get the membership? Whatever it is that you had agreed to do? Those are the things that will foundationally change our healthcare system. So I don't know how we spent the whole conversation talking about exercise, but I'm glad we did, because
it needed to be done.
We needed to talk about it. And I promise you, if we just start somewhere, and again, I would start with walking. If you're not in a safe neighborhood, there are some things you can do at home. Most of us can find our way to a safe mall. If you end up with those bands, like I shared earlier, you can buy that stuff on Amazon and do that at home. So, but we have to start somewhere, because if we're going to be here for our families and be healthy and want to be 110 years old, right? Then we're going to have to earn our way. Now, I'm 53, so I got to earn the next 53 years. I can't just sit around and hope that it go okay. I got to earn it. And I'm asking you guys who are listening and watching, Let's earn the rest. And this is the last thing I'll say about this. It's so cool to do it, not just because you're trying to get to 110, but because while you're on your journey, you can now take a trip to Jamaica and you can actually climb, maybe go up the waterfall thing they got there. Maybe you can do a little hiking because you feel like doing it. And it's going to be you're not going to be sitting in a hotel talking about where my Chardonnay at. You're going to want to get out there. You're going to do that too. But what you're going to do that too. But during the day before you get to the Nikki, you okay?
During the day before the Chardonnay.
Hey,
okay.
You know what? You already know who's doing the Chardonnay because of their response.
Right. She lost it.
Yeah, Nikki, you done gave up. So my point is, your journey is going to be so much better when you can enjoy it, and you can go and chase the grandkids and play with them and feel better. And you got to earn that. You're not 22 anymore, so you got to earn it. But as you start to make that who you are, it's not going to feel like pain. In fact, most people, Dr. Maya, if you don't exercise, you know you're not going to feel good. It's almost like a drug. So once you get into a rhythm with it, you're going to want. In fact, tonight is an exercise night. So tonight after this, I'll be doing a little exercise, and I'm actually looking forward to it because I know how good I'm going to feel because I did it. So
you still only be 106.
Okay.
Virginia Knight says, I exercise 6 days a week. Saturday, I exercise 6 days a week. Saturday, I turned 70. No aches, pains, or medication. If only I could get on the eating wagon with Dr. May. Linda Jackson said, that's right, Dr. Tony Mason. And of course, my sister Melanie Winston says, I agree, Dr. Tony Hampton. I'm sorry, Linda Jackson says, that's right, Dr. Tony Hampton. And Melanie says, I agree, Dr. Hampton. Yeah, exercise, eat right, do your mind. In the words of Dr. Jasmine Searcy, mindfulness. If she was here tonight, she would tell you mindfulness. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Melanie says all of the above and the shirt.
Yeah.
Hello?
All right. All right. So okay for the twerking, the hula hooping, the running, the exercise, so important.
Yep, I'm on my television show.
In conjunction to making sure that we are having mindfulness. I thank you guys so much for being here with us. As we do all the time, we're going to go around and ask everybody your until next Monday, because that time is here. So our until next Monday. We want to remind people to get vaccinated. Oh, and Tony, how did that go with the doctor's note? Dr. Pete, we'll start with you. Your until next Monday.
Yeah, so until next Monday, I would encourage people to make good decisions, and part of that means a nutritional strategy that should not consist of overconsumption, but be mindful of what your body needs as fuel, not necessarily what your body wants and what you have a taste for. Also, be mindful of your ability to move around, to get moving. It doesn't mean necessarily, jumping, the hoops, but it may mean just starting where you are, going for a 10-minute walk. It may mean getting on the floor and getting back up, and do that 5 times. If you can start somewhere, get your body moving, it will act as an anti-inflammatory activity. So all the medicines that we take to control blood pressure and diabetes, those things can be controlled by your activity. Now, sometimes we still need medicine. I'm not saying stop taking your medicine. What I am saying is you should complement that with activity or behavior that is incongruent with also taking that pill. So my mother used to always say, don't cut off your nose and spite your face. So don't take your medicine and then not go exercise, or don't go exercise and not take your medicine. Do them both, and then in concert with your doctor, discuss the options of what if I keep exercising, if I lose some weight, can we come down on the medicine? Can we come off of the medicine? Just talk to your provider and see what they say. But until next Monday, get active and get vaccinated.
All right, Dr. Douglas Graham, you're until next Monday.
Well, I just want to reinforce what Dr. Tony says. You want to learn from the winners. And what I was thinking was, anytime that you watch a professional sporting event, whether it's basketball or football, before the game starts, you're going to see these athletes stretching. And they're going to be stretching on the court and stretching on the field. So I'd be watching what they're doing. I'd be watching how they're doing. We want to move away from this idea of no pain, no gain. That works if you're going to make your high school football team, or if you're going for that Olympic gold. But once you pass that time in life, you want to stretch the way these professional athletes do.
All right, Dr. Tony Hansen, you're until next Monday.
Yeah, I think about Pharrell and his wonderful song "Happy," and whenever I feel down, I put that song on. It's amazing that it works every time. So if you want to be happy, I think you need to exercise. That's what Dr. Maya has proven to us. She said it boosts her mood. I can tell you that it creates mental clarity for me. And ironically, when I exercise tonight, and this doesn't work for everybody, but I'm going to sleep better tonight because I exercise. Tomorrow, when I'm talking to a patient, I have to remember what I need to tell them. My memory is going to be better tomorrow. Because I exercise, my self-confidence is going to be better, because maybe I like the way my body is being sculpted. And one of the things I loved about those years me and Dr. Pete spent together, we had sculpted our body. And I'm excited that Congressman Danny Davis shared that I may live longer, and I'm going to be here a little longer. And the number one cause of disease is heart disease, and I know my heart's going to be healthier. So for everybody that's on the fence, not sure, hasn't really gotten to it, I hope that tonight's conversation helped to inspire you to start moving, because we want to see you guys for many more years to come, and your family and you deserve to be here as long as possible.
Outstanding, Dr. Hansen. Dr. Pete, you missed Dr. Hansen last week. He's been doing a lot of reference to artists. So tonight we see it was Pharrell. Last week it was Ralph Tresvant. He wanted us to know that he was sensitive. So, and he burst out his song. I thought he was going to sing Pharrell for us for a second, but I don't know. Dr. Maya, you're until next Monday.
Until next Monday, I have two things. Something that helps me to get kind of off the couch into exercise mode. I don't spend a lot of time when my brain says, "Oh, I just want to stay in bed," and starts making excuses. I don't participate with that, and I tell myself, well, by the time you finish making all these excuses, you could have been done with the exercise. Also, I like to in those hard times, I dedicate my workout to a variety of things. Sometimes I dedicate it to my mom. Sometimes I dedicate it to my ancestors who had to run so that I can have the option to get up and run. Sometimes I dedicate it to my 70-year-old self. Like today, I'm exercising for my 70-year-old Maya, and I'm putting this time in for you and showing up for myself. And so that helps me kind of it serves as a point of motivation for me, and I hope it helps somebody else. The second thing, Congressman Davis, y'all know y'all call me Dr. 100, Maya 100, because I don't have or sometimes want those soft skills to code switch. So I really, enjoy the space that I've created to speak as a Black woman for myself in a multitude of kind of the environment we live in today. So I say this with all of that. Congressman, when I mentioned, I remember when I first met you. I knew you for a while, and then I was talking about MPHs FQHCs and community health, and you would sit there and listen. And she's like, okay, and I met you when I was fairly young. It didn't, at the time I didn't even look you up to see, and so I had to be like 30, something like that. Now I just look 30. No, but but I had to I didn't think to look you up and figure it out. So I went to UIC. I'm an HBCU. She's like, okay, thank you. Thank you for how humble you are. And it took, can you all still hear me? Because
Yeah, we hear you, Maya.
can you all still hear me?
We
Because it
hear
went
you.
out. It took years in your, out, for lack of a better word, quietness, and you spend a lot of time listening. So I was showing up at NPH stuff. Then I used to work, I was an HIV specialist at the Core Center, and you'd be like, okay, that's great. Then I found out you were part of creating that. Then I found out all this NPH stuff that you did. Then I found out all this healthcare stuff because I'm, over explaining, thinking and then one day I thought, let me Google this person because, and then tonight when I'm talking, that was when I was 30. Tonight when we're talking about cycling in the community, going like using our bicycles in the community for health, then we find out you started that. So I don't want to let moments like that go without saying thank you for the long, I always say people know you're in the community when you're there all the time, when they can reflect on you doing stuff all the time, when you're physically there for other, their health, their wellness, things like that. So thank you for all you've done for and continue to do for our communities, the things that we don't know about. I wanted to say that. Yep.
Thank
Oh,
you.
Maya, simply fantastic. I want to read these two, then we're going to let the congressman give his until next Monday in our closing remarks. Mary Ballinger says, thank you guys for everything you do. You all are the best. Audrey J. Cox stated, I started an exercise program May 16, 2020. I turned 74 last Monday, and I received my lab work from the doctor. The doctor was astonished with my numbers. BP 113 over 71, bad cholesterol is good, weight loss since the last visit, sugar levels good. I am happy with me, my overall good health, and my sanity. Your conversations keep me inspired. So thank you so much, Audrey J. Cox. Remember to wash your hands, mask up. In the words of Dr. Maya, Miss Rona ain't playing with y'all. And also remember to get vaccinated. Stop asking the questions to us on Facebook and on Instagram and emailing. How do we stop the variant? How do we do it? We stop the variant by getting vaccinated. So please get vaccinated. Every day you can go in, walk in, you don't need an appointment. The congressman actually aided in removing those barriers for those appointments for you too. So make sure that you get your vaccine. Congressman, take it away.
I really want to thank all of the doctors for this tremendous discussion this evening and how all of us can be engaged in not only enhancing, but improving the quality of life. And I think it's so important to just acknowledge that in terms of during the COVID, during the pandemic, many individuals changed their lifestyles. They ate differently, and that probably means they ate more. It means that they didn't get around and out as much as they normally do. And just imagine these tips that we received this evening in terms of ways to exercise without a lot of effort and things that you can do that will improve your own life, whoever you are. I always try and take the position that you really cannot lead where you don't go. That it's difficult to convince others to do what you're not doing yourself. I don't suggest, I mean, I always appreciated my father. My father was the hardest working guy I've ever known. I've never known anybody. And as kids, he always had something for us to do. And we would generally do it. I did it because I appreciated the fact that he didn't suggest to us that we do anything he was not doing himself. We lived on a farm, and so work was always around. But he didn't say, "You kids go do this." He often would say, "Come on, boys, and let's go do so and so and so." And we thought he was the craziest man in the world. We just thought he had to be the craziest guy around. Because there was never a time when he didn't have something that could be done. You know, if it was raining and you couldn't work the fields, when it stopped, he'd say, "Come on, boys, let's go fix that fence." We said, "Damn, this got to be the craziest." I mean, there's never a time when there isn't something that he thinks you could be doing. And so, hey, take those tips that we've heard. Thank you, Dr. Pete. Thank you, Dr. Graham. Thank you, Dr. Maya. I don't know what age you was talking about, but you got you. I know you're lying. I mean, I just don't. I don't have any doubt about that. You know, couldn't possibly be. Dr. Hampton, thank you. So, without a lot of effort, you can do some of these things. Certainly, you can walk. Certainly, you can kind of lean over a little bit, or you can lean over the other way. And all of that is going to add additional time, perhaps a few more years. So I don't think I'd miss this for anything in the world. The only way I miss is when I just don't have any other alternative. And I've got some other things that I must do. So thank you all for a very interesting Monday evening. And of course, we miss. I can eat anything I want tonight. And I don't have to be I don't have to be afraid because Dr. Mason ain't around. Who knows? Ain't no telling what I may have. So thank you all so much. It's been a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening. And I'll see you all hopefully next week. All right. Bye.